Hi, I am Ms. Cox, and today we're going to be talking about using positive reinforcement to drive motivation in our classrooms. So this is our touchstone standard that we have in place for positivity and praise. A highly effective teacher is the teacher that consistently provides specific, meaningful praise that reinforces student effort, behavior, and learning. Praise is aligned with classroom expectations and academic goals, fostering a growth mindset. Positive reinforcement is balanced, authentic, and equitably distributed, ensuring all students feel valued and motivated. I want you to keep that in mind as we go throughout the rest of this presentation. Okay, like I said, this is beyond compliance, using positive reinforcement to drive motivation. Our session goals are to understand the difference between surface level praise and meaningful reinforcement, reflect on how reinforcement shapes behavior, builds classroom culture, and drives motivation. Identify ways to reinforce effort, growth, and character in addition to academic success. Create or improve a classroom reinforcement system that's sustainable and effective. So we will be sharing our ideas and offering suggestions to each other to help us all find ways to create a positive environment for all of our students in our own classrooms. Okay, I want you to think about your years in the classroom. Have you ever had a student or multiple students who made a positive change in their behavior or academically? How did that change come about? What role did positive reinforcement play in that change? And how did building a positive relationship with that student play a role in that change? How did creating a positive classroom environment play a role in that change? Because those are all things that students need to really grow and thrive in our classrooms. Okay, highly effective teachers. We just talked about our standard, but we're going to unpack it a little bit. So we consistently provide specific, meaningful praise that reinforces student effort, behavior, and learning. So if you're going to give a student praise, please make sure that it is specific. They know exactly what they did correctly. They know exactly what they did that helped them grow or helped them learn or applied a new skill, whatever it may be. But please make sure that it is specific and that it has some meaning, because if it's just a generic praise, it doesn't mean anything to them. They need to know that their hard work is paying off and that they're being seen and noticed and recognized. Make sure it aligns with your expectations and academic goals, and showing them that they are actually growing and allowing them to see that growth in their performance. Positive reinforcement is balanced, authentic, and equitably distributed. So positive reinforcement is balanced. You don't want to give too much, but you definitely don't want to give too little. You have to find a good balance of what works for your students. Make sure it's authentic. Make sure that it is you, it's your personality, it's the things that you naturally say, that it's not forced and it doesn't sound fake, and equitably distributed. So this is where it gets a little bit hard sometimes, because we all have students that we don't connect with very well, or we have students who aren't interested at all, or who their behavior issues or whatever it may be. But please make sure that you're finding ways to praise those students too. Make sure every student feels like they are growing and that they are being successful in your classroom. Okay, you need to know that compliance is not motivation. Generic praise fades. Reinforcement should focus on effort, character, and progress, and intrinsic motivation builds when people feel valued. Compliance is not motivation. Compliance is simply doing what you've asked them to do because they just want it done, or because you asked them to, but it's not because they wanted to do it. Students need to value your expectations. If they don't value what you're trying to do in your classroom, they don't understand the importance of it, it isn't going to be important to them. So please make sure that you explain your expectations and let them know why we're doing things the way that we are. Okay, the way that I like to build their motivation is by building relationships with my students. My students know that I will listen to them. I listen to what they have to say. I listen to their thoughts and ideas, and they know that they can come to me if they're having a problem or a problem with my class or an assignment. They know that I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, or that I need to change something, or that something wasn't done as fairly as it could have been, and I'm willing to work on that. If I show that I value them and their perspectives, they're more likely to value my perspectives and my expectations as well. We want to avoid generic praise as much as possible. Generic praise will be used in a classroom setting, but it will lose its effectiveness. That's your good job, way to go, you did great, that kind of thing. You want to make sure that your praise is very specific. you want them to know exactly what they've done right and what kind of growth that they have shown. We are not perfect, and neither are our students, and kids are very hard on themselves and they don't really recognize their own growth. We need to help them recognize that they are progressing, that we see them and the effort they make to grow and improve. They're never going to reach perfection, and that's okay. We will never be perfect, but we wanted them to see that they have grown and that they are showing really good progress and that we're proud of them. We really want them to see that they can be proud of themselves. Intrinsic motivation is an internal drive to engage in behavior because it is personally meaningful or satisfying. In order for a student to build intrinsic motivation, they need to value your opinion of them. We need to make sure our students feel seen and understood at all times. Please make sure that your students feel like you see them and that you understand them and that you are in their corner and you're here for them. Okay, so personal reflection. How do you currently recognize or reinforce positive behavior? I want you to reflect on years past and think about how did you recognize and reinforce that behavior? Was your praise consistent and specific? Do students feel seen and appreciated in your classroom? Do you find yourself praising the same students over and over again and leaving some kids out? How do you make sure you praise and motivate all students, not just those who become our besties, right? We all have our besties. So how do we praise every single person in our classroom? Okay, what can we do to improve your recognition, reinforcement, and classroom culture? This is where we're going to collaborate with each other and see if we can get some new ideas. Okay, so here are some strategies. Some strategies that you can use are behavior specific. Be specific when you thank them or compliment them, not just a simple good job. Positive narration. It's okay to praise students out loud. It is okay to say their name and say you did that so well, like nicely done, something like that. It can be student-led. Encourage students to praise and encourage each other. It's really nice to see them praise each other because they do care what their peers think about them, and it's good for them to have that boost in motivation in the classroom. And private moments. Praise them quietly with a note, an email home, or some one-on-one check-ins. I also suggest asking your students how they prefer to be praised. Some students are okay with public praise and others don't like it at all. They don't like the spotlight. They don't like that recognition. But it goes back to knowing your students and getting to know them. So something that I do is I throw whole class or individual rewards. We have a couple of weeks in between Thanksgiving and Christmas break, and we all know that those 2 weeks can be hard. We know that they are hard. And so what I do is they have a competition. I have my champs and my expectations on the wall, and the class that meets all of those expectations, they earn points for every day. And then the class that has the most points, they get hot chocolate and donuts before we go on Christmas break. It really helps them stay focused and really helps them stay centered and present in class. You can do so many different things. You can do teacher versus class. You can do class period against class period. All kinds of different things. And ask them, let them be part of that planning because they really do enjoy coming up with ideas to drive their motivation. Okay, what have you done to encourage and motivate your students? How have you created a positive classroom environment? And how have you built positive relationships with your students? This is collaboration and getting ideas from each other and then sharing those ideas with each other as a group. And then I want you to think about what can you take into your classroom this year? What can you try differently? What can you take from another teacher that has worked for them? Please always remember too that it's okay to ask other teachers for help. It is perfectly okay to say, I'm struggling with this student or this student. How do you help them? How do you motivate them in your classroom? And our administration is fantastic at helping us find ways to motivate our students and to help us motivate our students. So please use your resources. We're all here in the same building with the same students, and we're all trying very hard to help them succeed and grow.